Let's get to the race report brought to you by CanTorque. Well, right now you can schedule a tour of their headquarters to see their made-in-Canada hydraulic wrenches, how they're made, how they outperform their manufacturer's tools, and how they support their customers. All their customers right now get 15% off. Arrange a tour by calling 780-974-7474. Or like, let's say 9-triple-Skinner. Okay? 9-triple-Skinner. As they're joined by Colin Livingston once again. And Colin, in the history of F1, is this the closest race points-wise amongst the top two guys in history heading into the final 2 weeks?
I'd be lying if I said I had every statistical season of F1 at my fingertips or in my brain, but it's definitely the closest that I can ever remember, where, it'll likely go down to the last race for sure.
Yeah. So let's look ahead to this weekend then. So do you see, based on the track, is there an advantage for either Max or Lewis?
Well, I mean, I don't mind going out on a limb. Right now, Verstappen has a 6-point lead, more wins, more laps led, but I really believe down to my toenails that the championship is over. I think Hamilton is going to take this race. He's going to pull ahead in the points by the end of Saudi, and he's going to win again at Abu Dhabi with this, what the team is calling their spicy engine that they're putting back in the car from Brazil. The team has done really well at new tracks. And again, with the Saudi is obviously a brand new track. I mean, they've just finished the construction. They weren't sure if they were going to get it done, before the race. And, that definitely leads itself to Mercedes' favor. But with the new track, I mean, the track surface, if it's anything like what happened after Turkey when they repaved that surface, I mean, it could be, it could be a disaster for a team as well. I mean, I think it's over, but that being said, we run these races because you just don't know till the end of the day. So, I mean, it's going to be exciting. Obviously the series going to Saudi has brought up a lot of, controversy, which, is interesting to me because, so many times, athletes and celebrities are leaned on for, conveying a certain message, but at the same time they get told, shut up and just do your job. So, it's going to be kind of interesting to see if F1's presence in kind of a country with some questionable human rights and obviously some issues with, LBGT and women, if that helps, further the dialogue and helps, improve things in that country, or is this something that, they're bringing F1 there to kind of create the impression that things are getting better, while they still get to, or still, continue on in a questionable way.
In hockey, you talk about a player who's a heavy player or a fast player. What does the term spicy engine mean? Like, is that like a slang for some kind of what a type of an engine is or what they think it can do?
Well, based on Hamilton putting 10 seconds between him and Verstappen at Brazil in the final 10 laps, spicy engine means that this thing has got some power. This is obviously the one engine that somehow it went together a little bit better. It got a slightly better components. It, whatever it is that they found with this one particular engine, the fact that it's new, I mean, a new engine is definitely going to put out a bit more power than one towards the end of its usable life. But, the car has just been the best car since they, since Brazil. I don't know. I mean, there's always that chance, nothing against Red Bull and nothing against Max, but they can only do what they can do with what they've got. And right now, I think Mercedes has the better thing. I mean, for me though, the bigger issue or the bigger battle is to see who can take the constructors championship, because that really is going to rely on their second drivers, and then what happens in the mid pack.
And what about F2? They've had a 2-month absence and now they're back. What do you make of that?
Well, I mean, F2 is obviously determined by budgets. are way more limited by budget than the big series. So they have to skip a lot of these flyaway races. All the race in the States, Mexico, Brazil, those were all missed, and they missed the last time they were on track was Russia. And I think most people won't even remember what happened back then. But what's kind of interesting is the battle between the top two right now is kind of where it's at, and the leader Oscar Piastri, he's got a 36-point lead with two weekends left, but there's going to be 4 events. So they'll run 2 this weekend and then 2 next weekend when they get to Abu Dhabi. The guy who's in second place, though, he's going to be challenging for the, or he's going to, try and get the championship, a kid named Guanyu Zhou, who's already been signed to drive next year in F1. So he's already got kind of the prize that everyone wants, is that big seat in, in the big series, but Piastri has the chance to win the title. So I haven't actually checked. I mean, a lot of the time these races are broadcast, and they're super interesting to watch. Just because there's so much less technology. So it's not as much about how good of a car you've got. That obviously plays into it, but this is really a driver series. They do a pretty good job with the coverage on TSN.
Talking all things racing with Colin Livingston for the CanTorque Racing Report here on the Jason Gregor Show. My name is Jason Strudwick, and he's Jason Gregor. Colin, Sir Frank Williams passed away at the age of 79. What makes him such a legend in the F1, community?
Well, I mean, he's one of those pure racing guys that, I've got a couple of people in my world, not that I knew Mr. Williams, but, a couple of people I've really looked up to that, the benchmark for me of how great these people are whether they can put their sport ahead of themselves. And, I think of guys like, Arnold Palmer and Jack Nicklaus. I never, ever saw those guys elevate themselves above the game that they played. And Mr. Williams, I believe, was in the same category, that, you can use the cliches of gentlemen and things like that. I mean, obviously, when you're in racing, you're always going to be kind of pushing the boundaries and maybe not cutting corners, but you're going to be looking for advantages. But when it comes to who he was as a role model and as an ambassador, you take a look at the outpouring of support and the outpouring of emotion from drivers across the series and from other series that had, that were positively impacted by this guy. I mean, his story is really interesting of how he got started. He's really self-built, lost everything, ended up selling off his original team, having to start from square one again before he turned into one of the most successful F1 teams that the series has ever seen. Got out of the series a couple of years ago when they sold, but of course the reputation that Mr. Williams had was so strong, they still run under his name. Really really big loss. Had a lot of medical issues that related back to a car accident that left him, paralyzed from the neck down. But his determination and his absolute unbelievable fitness at the time helped him get through that. But yeah, a big loss for the racing world for sure.
And lastly, we were talking earlier about how Drive to Survive has really gotten a lot of people involved.
Yeah,
and interested in F1. And if everybody remembers the former Renault team boss, Cyril, I don't even, I always butchered his last name, Abiteboul or whoever. Anyway, I know who Cyril was. He was always a funny guy. Now, he had made a bet at the time with Daniel Ricciardo, who was, was the former driver, that he would get a tattoo of Ricciardo's choosing if he scored a podium for the French Raid Squad, which he did. Ricciardo picked the location, and boom, he got it. But do you even know what the tattoo is?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
I gotta see the picture. What is that?
It's basically the outline. So Ricciardo's nickname in F1 is a honey badger. So what the picture is basically the honey badger in basically a line form. The background I'm not 100% sure of, but I mean, kudos to him, because obviously now he's not even part of the team anymore, and he's, not really involved in Formula One. Ricardo, for him, he gets to have a little bit of fun with it. But yeah, I mean, great story. Man of his word, obviously, because that tattoo isn't going anywhere. But yeah, I mean, the funny thing though, and I gotta say, Gregor, great that Tracy and Beckett are involved and they're dragging you in, but I would have loved to hear that, the race report would have helped, get you a little bit more excited for racing more than Drive to Survive.
Well, no, yeah, well, but you know what's funny? I actually watch other stuff, but like,
Yeah.
what's the biggest reason why I never watched F1? Because most of the races were like at 6 in the morning and 5 in the morning, and so I just was like, oh, geez, I missed another one. So
Yeah.
I was actually quite into because it was on North America. I used to see kart race and everything now in IndyCar, and so I was, and then unfortunately you could never watch it. But I got into NASCAR way more because of the racing report, and
Yeah.
I do watch it now. But it's funny because trust me, like for me. When I'm like, hey, honey, do you want to watch it? Like, to get her to watch a hockey game with me? Like, come on, that's not happening. But all of a sudden now it's like, oh, when's that one on? Let's record it. Like, we're having breakfast downstairs. I'm like, what is going? Like, it's fun. I don't mind it. It's quite funny. I just find it's all of a sudden that F1 now on the weekends on Sundays has become a big deal in the Gregor household, mainly spurred on by my wife and son.
Love it. I mean, Tracy's a great commenter on the social media of a lot of the posts that we put up. So.
Yeah, no, she likes it. She's big into it. Like Lou, she's a huge Lewis Hamilton fan. So and it's funny, like she really despises Max. So my son has picked up on it. So he always picks Max to win.
Well, I mean, today I'm rocking my Mercedes AMG F1 polo shirt here today. So I hopefully I'm in the right camp.
Nice. Well, it'll be a fun weekend, and I hope it does go down to the final race. That just makes it exciting. So we will hopefully talk about that next Thursday. Colin, have a great week.
Sounds good, guys. Thanks a lot.
There you go. That's Colin Livingston in the